Hi, I'm Perk, and in this video, I want to help you get the best kind of corpses. Now, these are the corpses with as many white skulls as possible and as few red skulls as possible, or just rather no red skulls. Now, I'm going to use a few tricks. Now, some of these are going to feature the new DLC, so that's going to be the Better Save Soul DLC, but you don't really need that. It does help quite a bit, but let me just show you. Now, first of all, why do you want to get a corpse with as many white skulls as possible? Now, there are two big reasons. Now, you will want to either have one for just a better graveyard rating. So the amount of white skulls actually adds to the rating of the graveyard, and the better the rating is, more easily that you can, kind of go forward in the game. The second reason, and honestly the reason that I mainly do it, is for the efficiency of the zombies. Now you can actually resurrect a corpse into a zombie, and the amount of skulls that he has actually improves his work efficiency. Like for example, this one who is actually using the alchemy decomposer, which is kind of just turning one reagent into other extracts and solutions and stuff like that. If you actually look over here at the top right, you can see he has a lot of skulls, and he has a work efficiency of 35%. Now there are a lot that I have that are quite a lot lower because I didn't figure out the impact that the white skulls have on the work efficiency just yet. But as you can see, this guy, it helps out a lot. I think about each skull adds about 3%, 2.5 maybe. Don't quote me on that, but it does help out a lot. But actually, how do you get started with these procedures to get the best kinds of corpses with the most white skulls? Now, first of all, you will want as many bodies as possible. So what you actually want to do is, I'm going to just show you really easily by using this body, for example. This is going to be our body that we're going to try to get to the best option that we have. So we're just going to be placing it on the autopsy table, and here we can see everything that's inside. Now this is the sin shard from the latest DLC. We can just extract that immediately. But if we actually look at each component, now the bones and the skulls actually don't make that much of an difference. So the skull actually reduces, for example, your red skulls with one. The flesh is typically gives you one white skull. The skin is basically not always the same, it kind of is. But the three main things that actually have the biggest influence are the brain, the intestines, and the heart. Now, as you can see, the brain is going to give us two additional skulls. Our intestines is going to give us two additional red skulls, which is pretty bad. And then we have the heart that is going to add two red skulls and two white skulls. Now, this isn't always the same. There are a couple of variations. Now, look, for example, the ones that I have in my inventory right now. So, for example, I have a brain that just gives me one extra skull, and one that gives me a red skull and a white skull. I have a heart that gives me 2 minus red skull, which is amazing, and 3 white skulls. That is pretty much the best combination that you can get, and honestly, as many as you can get of these kinds, the better you off. We actually have just also a heart that's going to give us 1 additional skull, and then we have, for example, this one at the distance is going to give us 2 red skulls and 2 white skulls. I have a few more in, for example, my mortuary rack, and I should build a few extra because you really need to stockpile these. So what you actually want to do is you want to get as many bodies as possible. You're just going to take the good parts and just save them for later. So when you actually want to do a body like this with a lot of skulls, then you just want to pop in the best parts that you have. So, and then the remaining skulls, the remaining bodies which you just use for parts, you can just cremate those, and that way they will have no impact in your graveyard and they're not just laying around. So let's just get started with this. So first of all, we're going to remove the body parts. So once again, I'm going to focus on removing the intestines, the brain, heart. Now, if you're actually wondering how you're able to see the white skulls and the red skulls on each body part, that is actually hidden away in the anatomy and alchemy part. And we're going to go all the way to the right, and over here we have the cultist. So the cultist gives you the perk that's going to be everything has a meaning. You can see the skulls and the white and the red skulls of body parts. Now this one isn't immediately available. You actually need to get a better relationship with a specific character, being the Inquisitor. You actually need to get about 75% friendship. You actually need to organize 3 times the burger shop at his witch burning ceremony to unlock this perk. It's a big help, and honestly, without it, I wouldn't really mess around with the white skulls just yet, because then it's gonna be just a little bit more of a gamble. Okay, so once we actually have removed the three vital organs, so these are going to be the brain, the intestines, and the heart, then we can just insert the ones we want. So then we're going to look for the best intestine, for example, the best heart, and the best brain. Now, before you do this, if you have the Save Soul DLC, what you actually can do is you're going to go over to the secret part of the morgue, the souls room, and over here we actually have a workbench. Here can we actually modify the organs, so that way we can actually improve their viability, let's just call them that. So what are we going to be using? I am going to be using this heart, the intestine. So let's just focus on this intestine. So I have 2 red skulls, which is pretty bad, but we actually have 2 white skulls. And that's going to be the best one we have. So we're just going to modify this one. We're going to craft it, and we're going to improve the white skull. So this is going to take us 4 corrupted sin shard. So you actually get these from bodies really easily. So we're going to improve that. And once we're done, you're going to see we actually just improved our intestines with 3 red skulls. Now, because we have that heart with the -2 red skulls, that's going to cancel each other out. And we actually have 6 white skulls just between these 2. Then we're just going to get a good brain, for example. So we can just use this one. Okay, so once we're happy with the modifications, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be inserting the 3 organs. Okay, so right now we actually have a body with 8 skulls. So we are removing those 3 intestines, that heart, and those brains. We were off to 0, and now we are back to 8 white skulls with no red skulls, which is pretty good. So now what we can do is actually the embalming. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be taking the body, and we're going to take it with us. Now, I'm using the embalmment. Now, there is a big issue with bodies. Now, you can't always resurrect them, because if you place them on the screen, if they are rotten, it will say that you can't re-embalm, you can't resurrect them. So then you will need the glue injection. But this one isn't rotten just yet, so we're going to move on to the next part. Now, there are going to be 3 other injections that you will want to use except for the glue injection. You're going to be wanting to use the light injection, the silver injection, and the gold injection. Now, unfortunately, I do not have the gold injection at this point. I'm just ran out on my last one, which was kind of foolish. So we're just going to be doing the light injection and the silver injection. So once this is done, once I've done the 2 injections, we're going to come back, and then we're going to do the final step. Okay, so welcome back. Now we actually have done the embalming process. So right now at this point, we have 10 white skulls, which is pretty great. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be taking it back to the autopsy table, and then we're going to take a look at a few other things. Now, blood, of course, is pretty bad. So what we actually want to be doing is we're going to remove that as well, because it just adds it adds a red skull and removes a white skull. Then we're also going to be removing the fat, because that does exactly the same thing. And now it should have gone up to 12. So let's go take a look. That's 5. That's 5. That's 12, which is perfect. Now, additionally, we want to take a look at the skin and the meat now, or the flesh. Now, first of all, you can actually change this as well. You can also modify the blood, for example. So let's just go take a look over here. So we're going to go back to our workbench. Now, once you're at your workbench, you can also modify, for example, the blood. You can also modify the skin, the flesh, the fat. You can modify pretty much everything. Now, honestly, because I don't like to bring objects, organs that start off with a red skull, unless you have enough negative red skulls in your other parts, then I would prefer to bring those back. So what I'm just going to be doing is I'm just going to modify the flesh and the skin. So the skin is, once again, we're going to craft, and then we can change it to get an additional white skull. Okay, so now with the modified flesh and skin, so we actually have an additional 4 white skulls. So let's just put them back in, and then we should be almost done. Okay, so once that is done, so we actually have, once again, we have our brain with 2 white skulls. We have our flesh with 2 white skulls. We have a heart with 3 white skulls minus 2 red. Our intestine is going to give us 2 red skulls, which is decreased because of the heart, and gives us an additional 3 white skulls. Our modified skin, it gives us 2 white skulls, and our skull, which just gives us a minus red skull, but doesn't actually matter that much in this calculation. Now, once again, as I said, you can actually just change the blood and the fat, but it's going to be quite expensive and probably not worth that much. Now, there are bigger outcomes that you can get if you get some better regions. So, for example, if you get this heart with +3 white skulls, and you get that also for your brain and the intestines, you also change those in the workbench, you can arrive closer to 20 white skulls. But I'm pretty happy with this one. I don't want to invest too much. Also, I didn't use the golden embalmment, so which would also help out a lot. So if you actually get the best organs, the best embalments and everything, then you should get closer to 20 white skulls. Now, I'm going to take this one with us. Now, I'm going to use this guy as a zombie because I prefer to have zombies instead of a good looking graveyard at this point. So I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to put him in a spot. And this is also 35%, which is pretty great. But there we go. I hope you found this useful. If you did, be sure to leave it with a like, subscribe, and stuff like that for additional guides just like this one. Guys, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!